Rain poured over New York like an endless curtain, sweeping across the city with thick drops that seemed to echo Emma Bennett's state of mind. She dashed through the crowded streets, dodging people with colorful umbrellas and cars splashing water onto the sidewalks. Her shift at the small coffee shop had been particularly rough, with impatient customers and a new manager eager to assert unnecessary authority. Emma arrived home soaked to the bone, her heart heavy. Her mother was lying on the worn couch in the living room, coughing lightly, while her younger sister Lily was hunched over the makeshift dining table, struggling with her homework. "You're late," her mother said, her voice filled with worry. "Was it raining too much, dear?" "Yes, but I managed to catch the subway in time," Emma replied with a faint smile, masking her exhaustion. She leaned down to check her mother's temperature. It was higher than usual, but there was no money for another doctor's appointment. The truth was harsh and simple. Emma was drowning in medical debt. Her mother's treatments required more than she could provide, and the pressure of taking care of Lily kept her awake at night. Yet she refused to give up. This wasn't just a financial struggle, it was a fight for her family's survival. Across the city, on the 35th floor of a luxurious Manhattan skyscraper, Liam Harrison sat in a sleek black leather armchair, swirling a glass of whiskey in his hand. The room stood in stark contrast to Emma's life, modern, spacious, and cold, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city. Yet even the luxury couldn't temper his irritation. "This has to be a joke, right?" Liam asked, his sharp gaze fixed on the lawyer in front of him. "No, sir," the man replied, adjusting his glasses as he consulted the documents. "Your father made it very clear in his will. You must be married within a year to retain control of the Harrison empire. Otherwise, the shares will be transferred to your cousins." Liam scoffed. He always loved his little games. "This is absurd." The lawyer remained silent, though the tension in the room was palpable. Liam, known for his cold demeanor and unwavering determination in business, had no patience for personal matters, especially something as antiquated as marriage. He despised sentimentality, viewing love as nothing more than a distraction. Once the lawyer left, Liam called Mark Donovan, his trusted assistant. "Find me a solution," he ordered, his voice as sharp as a blade. And quickly. Mark understood exactly what Liam meant. Within hours, he had compiled a list of potential candidates. Young women with no significant connections who could be easily controlled. He spent hours narrowing it down until he found Emma Bennett, a waitress with a modest background, no complications, and desperate for money. Perfect. 2 days later, Emma opened the door of her small home to find Mark standing there, an imposing figure in a pristine suit. He seemed completely out of place in the humble neighborhood, but his tone was firm and direct. "Miss Bennett, I'm Mark Donovan. I have a proposal for you." Emma frowned, hesitating. A proposal? Mark handed her an elegant folder. Inside was a detailed contract and figures that made her head spin. She read the first page, disbelief washing over her. It was a marriage offer with a billionaire. In return, her family would receive enough money to pay off all their debts and live comfortably. "This has to be a mistake," Emma said, handing the contract back. "It's no mistake," Mark replied with rehearsed patience. "My employer, Liam Harrison, needs a marriage to fulfill a legal requirement. He chose you because, well, you're no threat." The insult stunned, but before Emma could respond, Mark continued. "He doesn't want emotional involvement, just an arrangement. You'll have your financial security, and he'll get what he needs. It's simple." But nothing was simple for Emma. She spent the night wrestling with her dignity and her desperation. What mattered more, her independence or her family's safety? Her mother's pale face and Lily's innocent smile filled her mind. This wasn't about her, it was about them. Even more imposing in person, tall, dressed impeccably in a gray suit. His cold gray eyes seemed to strip people of their defenses. "You're Emma," he said, more a statement than a question. "Yes," she replied, trying to sound confident, though her hands trembled. "Good. Let's be clear. This is a business deal, nothing more. You'll follow the rules, keep up appearances in public, and in return, you'll get your share. Beyond that," he shrugged. "Don't expect anything from me." Emma swallowed hard. "I don't need anything from you. I just want my family to be taken care of." There was a tense silence before Liam finally nodded. "Good. Then we are on the same page." The contract was signed that night, with lawyers present and an overpriced bottle of champagne to seal the deal. To the outside world, it would look like a fairy tale romance between a humble young woman and a powerful billionaire. but behind the gilded doors, it was nothing more than a cold, calculated arrangement. As Emma retreated to the guest room assigned to her, Liam watched her leave with an unreadable expression. For a brief moment, something flickered in his eyes, perhaps curiosity or something deeper he refused to acknowledge. The storm continued to rage outside, but within the Harrison mansion, an even greater storm was about to unfold. Nathan chuckled. "Don't worry, I'm not here to interrogate you. I just wanted to see who managed to get my cousin to the altar." Emma's cheeks flushed. "It's not what you think. Relax," Nathan said, holding up his hands. "I know the deal. Everyone in the family does. But for what it's worth, I hope Liam doesn't make this harder for you than it already is." His words carried a sincerity that caught Emma off guard. She offered him a small smile. "Thanks." Nathan nodded before leaving the room, and Emma found herself feeling slightly less alone. That evening, Emma found herself summoned to Liam's home office, a sleek, minimalist space that mirrored its owner. Liam barely glanced up when she entered, his focus on a stack of documents spread across his desk. "You wanted to see me?" Emma asked, her tone polite but firm. Liam gestured for her to sit. "We need to establish some rules." "Rules?" "Yes." Liam leaned back in his chair, his expression cold and detached. "For this arrangement to work, we need boundaries. My schedule is non-negotiable. You'll need to be ready to accompany me to events whenever required, and under no circumstances will you involve yourself in my personal affairs." Emma bristled at his tone, but kept her composure. "Understood. Anything else?" "Yes." Liam said, his gaze locking onto hers. "Whatever happens, remember that this is just a contract. Don't mistake it for anything more." The words hit harder than Emma expected, but she refused to let him see her falter. "You've made yourself perfectly clear." Liam studied her for a moment before nodding. "Good. That will be all." As Emma left the office, her chest tightened. She had known from the start that this wasn't a real marriage, but hearing Liam's cold declaration made the reality sting even more. In the privacy of her room, Emma sat by the window, staring out at the city lights. She had agreed to this for her family, and she would endure whatever it took. But as the weight of her new life settled over her, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a storm far more dangerous than she'd anticipated. The following evening arrived faster than Emma had expected. The charity gala Liam mentioned loomed like an impending storm, and the mansion buzzed with activity. Stylists and assistants swarmed around her, preparing her for the event, as though she were a doll. Emma stared at her reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at her was barely recognizable. Her hair was styled in soft waves, her makeup subtle yet flawless, and the floor-length emerald green gown hugged her figure in a way that felt both elegant and intimidating. "Perfect," one of the stylists declared, stepping back to admire her work. Emma wasn't so sure. The dress was stunning, but it felt like a costume, as though she were playing a role in someone else's life. "Mr. Harrison is waiting for you downstairs," Clara informed her, her tone as brisk as ever. Emma descended the grand staircase, her heart pounding with every step. When she reached the bottom, Liam was standing there, adjusting the cufflinks on his tailored black tuxedo. He looked up as she approached, his expression unreadable. "You clean up well," he said curtly, offering his arm. "Thanks, I think," Emma replied, hesitating before taking his arm as they stepped into the sleek black limousine waiting outside. Emma felt the weight of the evening settle on her shoulders. This was her first test in their arrangement, and she was determined not to fail. The gala was held in an opulent ballroom at one of New York's most exclusive hotels. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the sound of a live orchestra filled the air. The room was packed with New York's elite, their laughter and chatter blending into a symphony of wealth and privilege. Emma's nerves tightened as they entered, but Liam's calm demeanor was unshakable. He led her through the crowd with the confidence of someone who owned the place, or at least the people in it. "Smile," he murmured,
leaning down slightly as they approached a group of important-looking individuals. Emma forced a polite smile, nodding as Liam introduced her to a series of executives, politicians, and philanthropists. Their conversations felt like chess matches, with every word carefully calculated. "She's lovely," one woman said, her voice dripping with insincerity. "Indeed," another man added, his gaze lingering on Emma a moment too long. Emma's stomach twisted, but she refused to let Sophia see her discomfort. "Perhaps you should ask him," she replied evenly. Sophia's eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, Liam appeared at Emma's side. His presence was like a shield, and Sophia's confident demeanor faltered. "Sophia," Liam said coolly, his tone devoid of warmth. "I didn't realize you were here, Liam," she replied, her voice suddenly sweeter. "I was just getting to know your charming wife." Liam's gaze flickered to Emma, and for a brief moment, his expression softened. "Emma doesn't need your advice, Sophia. Enjoy the evening." Sophia's smile froze before she turned and disappeared into the crowd. "Thank you," Emma said softly once she was gone. "Don't let people like her get to you," Liam replied, his voice low. "She thrives on drama." Emma nodded, but the encounter had left her shaken. By the end of the night, Emma felt like she had run a marathon. Her feet ached, her cheeks hurt from smiling, and her nerves were frayed. When they returned to the mansion, she was too exhausted to speak. "Good job tonight," Liam said, as they parted ways in the hallway. It wasn't exactly a compliment, but coming from him, it felt like one. "Thanks," Emma replied, surprised by how much those two words meant. As she closed the door to her room, she sank onto the bed, letting out a long breath. The gala was overwhelming, but she had survived. For the first time since signing the contract, she felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could handle this new life. But as she stared at the ceiling, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that her role as Liam's wife was more complicated than it seemed. Beneath his icy exterior, there were cracks. Small, fleeting moments of something almost human. She couldn't help but wonder what lay beneath the surface and whether she was prepared to find out. The following week passed in a blur of carefully orchestrated appearances, silent dinners, and an unspoken tension that hung in the air between Emma and Liam. Their interactions were polite but distant, as if both were afraid to break the fragile truce that kept their arrangement intact. Emma spent most of her days exploring the mansion, trying to find a sense of familiarity in the cold and intimidating house of normally. In an environment that was anything but normal, she often found solace in the library, losing herself in books that offered a temporary escape from her reality. One afternoon, as Emma sat curled up in an armchair with a novel, she heard footsteps approaching. She looked up to see Liam standing in the doorway, his expression as unreadable as ever. "You spend a lot of time here," he remarked, stepping into the room. "It's peaceful," Emma replied, closing her book, "and it's the only place in this house that doesn't feel intimidating." Liam raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Intimidating? You don't find it overwhelming?" Emma asked, gesturing to the ornate decor around them. "It's like living in a museum." Liam's lips quirked into the faintest hint of a smile. "I suppose it can feel that way." For a moment, the air between them felt lighter, less strained. But just as quickly as it came, the moment passed, and Liam's guarded demeanor returned. "I came to tell you that we'll be hosting a dinner party tomorrow evening," he said, his tone reverting to its usual formality. "It's important, and I expect you to be prepared." Emma nodded, hiding her disappointment. "Of course. What do I need to know?" "Just be polite and engaging," Liam replied. "And remember, appearances matter." With that, he left the room, leaving Emma to wonder if the flicker of warmth she'd seen was real or just her imagination. The night of the dinner party arrived, and the mansion was transformed into a stunning display of elegance. The dining room was adorned with crystal chandeliers, silver candlesticks, and arrangements of fresh flowers. The guests began arriving promptly, a mix of influential figures from the business world and Liam's extended family. Emma stood by Liam's side, her nerves carefully masked by a calm exterior. She wore a navy blue gown that Clara had selected, and though she felt out of place, she reminded herself of Liam's instructions. Appearances matter. Throughout the evening, Emma played her role perfectly. She smiled, made small talk, and followed Liam's lead in conversations. But it wasn't long before she found herself the subject of subtle scrutiny. "So, Emma," an older woman asked her, sharp eyes studying her, "how did you and Liam meet?" Emma hesitated, the rehearsed story momentarily slipping from her mind. "We met through mutual acquaintances," Liam interjected smoothly, his tone leaving no room for further questioning. The woman raised an eyebrow, but said nothing more. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was short-lived. Across the table, Sophia, who had been invited despite the obvious tension between her and Liam, leaned forward with a smug smile. "I must say, Emma," Sophia began, her voice dripping with faint sweetness, "it's admirable how you've adapted to this lifestyle. It must be such a change from wherever you were before." The room went silent, and all eyes turned to Emma. Her cheeks flushed, but she kept her composure. "It is a change," Emma said, her voice steady, "but I've always believed that growth comes from stepping out of your comfort zone." Sophia's smile faltered, and a few guests murmured their approval of Emma's response. Liam's eyes flicked to her, and for the briefest moment, there was a glimmer of respect in his gaze. Later that night, after the last guest had left, Emma found herself standing on the mansion's balcony, staring out at the city lights. The evening had been exhausting, but she couldn't deny the small sense of victory she felt. "You handled yourself well tonight," Liam said, stepping onto the balcony. Emma turned to face him, surprised by the compliment. "Thank you." "It wasn't easy." Liam nodded, leaning against the railing. "Sophia can be difficult, but you didn't let her rattle you." Emma smiled faintly. "I've dealt with worse." For a moment, they stood in silence, the tension between them softening. The city stretched out before them, a sea of lights that seemed endless. "You know, Emma," began cautiously, "you don't have to be so distant all the time." Liam's expression hardened. "This is a business arrangement, Emma. Don't forget that." "I'm not forgetting," Emma replied, her voice firm. "But we're also human, and maybe, just maybe, we could make this a little less miserable for both of us." Liam didn't respond immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. "Good night, Emma."
He walked away. Emma felt a pang of frustration, but also a spark of hope. For the first time, she thought she might be chipping away at the icy walls Liam had built around himself. The days following the dinner party were uneventful, but not without tension. Liam retreated into his world of business, leaving Emma to navigate her new life largely on her own. The mansion, though beautiful, felt like a gilded cage. Emma kept busy exploring its many rooms, but the emptiness weighed on her. One afternoon, while wandering through the east wing, she stumbled upon a door slightly ajar. Curious, she pushed it open to reveal a study that seemed untouched by time. The walls were lined with books, but unlike the library, this room felt personal. Framed photographs and trinkets adorned the shelves, and a faint scent of leather lingered in the air. Emma's eyes landed on a photo of a younger Liam, standing with an older man who had a striking resemblance to him. The man's smile was warm and proud, a stark contrast to the guarded expression Liam always wore. "That was my father." The voice startled her, and she turned to see Liam standing in the doorway. His face was unreadable, but there was a heaviness in his eyes that she hadn't seen before. "I'm sorry," Emma said quickly, setting the photo back on the shelf. "I didn't mean to intrude." Liam stepped into the room, his gaze fixed on the photo. This was his study. He spent most of his time here. Emma hesitated, unsure if she should leave or stay. "You were close to him?" Liam let out a bitter laugh. "Close? No. My father believed in discipline and perfection. He didn't tolerate weakness, and he made sure I didn't either." Emma frowned. "But he looks proud of you in this photo." Liam's jaw tightened. "That was taken the day I closed my first major deal.
He cared more about results than relationships. There was a long silence. Emma studied him. For the first time, she saw a glimpse of the man beneath the cold exterior, a man shaped by expectations and a deep-seated need to prove himself. "I think he loved you," Emma said softly. Liam's eyes met hers, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face before he quickly turned away. "Don't romanticize him, Emma. He was as cold and calculating as I am." With that, he left the room, leaving Emma alone with her thoughts. That evening, Emma sat in the library, her mind racing with everything she had learned about Liam. She couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy for him. Beneath his arrogance and icy demeanor was a man carrying the weight of his father's legacy, a man who had never been allowed to simply be himself. Her thoughts were interrupted by Nathan's arrival. He entered with his usual easygoing demeanor, carrying a cup of coffee. "You look deep in thought," he remarked, taking a seat across from her. "I was just thinking about Liam," Emma admitted. Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Now that's a subject worth pondering. What's on your mind?" Emma hesitated before speaking. "I think he's not as heartless as he wants everyone to believe." Nathan chuckled. "You'd be in the minority with that opinion. Most people see Liam as a machine, brilliant, ruthless, and incapable of feeling, but he's not," Emma insisted. "I saw something today, a side of him that he doesn't show often." Nathan studied her for a moment, his expression softening. "You know, Emma, you might be exactly what Liam needs, someone who sees beyond the facade." Emma smiled faintly. "I'm not sure he'd agree with you." Nathan laughed. "Give him time. If anyone can break through that ice, it's you." The next day, Emma found herself up on the balcony, enjoying the crisp morning air. She was lost in thought when Liam joined her, a rare occurrence. "Good morning," she said cautiously. "Morning," he replied, his tone unusually neutral. They stood in silence for a moment, the city skyline stretching out before them. "I'm going out of town for a few days," Liam said abruptly. "Business." "Oh," Emma replied, caught off guard. "When will you be back?" 3 days, maybe 4. Emma nodded, unsure why the news left her feeling unsettled. She had grown used to Liam's presence, even if their relationship was far from warm. As Liam turned to leave, he paused. "While I'm gone, if you need anything, Nathan can help." "Thank you," Emma said, surprised by the gesture. Liam hesitated for a moment before continuing. "And
Emma, don't let this place get to you. It's easy to feel isolated here." Emma's heart softened at his words. "I'll be fine, but thank you for saying that." Liam nodded once before walking away, leaving Emma with a sense of hope she couldn't quite explain. The days without Liam felt quieter, though not entirely peaceful. Emma found herself caught between appreciating the stillness of the mansion and the subtle loneliness it carried. Despite her best efforts to stay busy, the vast empty rooms seemed to echo with reminders of her strange new life. On the third morning of Liam's absence, Emma was in the library when Clara entered with her usual efficiency. "Mrs. Harrison, you have visitor," Clara announced. "A visitor?" Emma asked, startled. "Yes, he's waiting in the sitting room." Emma's heart raced as she made her way to the front of the house. She wasn't expecting anyone and couldn't imagine who it might be. As she stepped into the elegant sitting room, her breath caught in her throat. Sitting on the edge of one of the plush chairs was a man she hadn't seen in years. Derek Bennett, her estranged older brother. "Derek," she whispered, disbelief coloring her voice. "Hey, Em," he said, standing awkwardly. "It's been a while." Emma's emotions surged, a mix of anger, relief, and confusion. Derek had left their family years ago, disappearing without explanation and leaving Emma to shoulder the burden of caring for their mother and Lily alone. "What are you doing here?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. "I heard about your situation," Derek replied, his tone careful. "This marriage? I wanted to see if you were okay." Emma narrowed her eyes. "You heard from who?" Derek hesitated. "People talk, and when I heard you'd married Liam Harrison, I had to come check on you." Emma crossed her arms, her guard firmly in place. "You disappeared for years, Derek. No calls, no letters, and now suddenly you care?" Derek ran a hand through his hair, his expression pained. "I know I messed up, okay? But I want to make it right." Emma's anger softened slightly, but she remained wary. "Why now?
What do you really want? Nothing, Derek insisted. I want to help. Before Emma could respond, Nathan appeared in the doorway. His usual relaxed demeanor was replaced by a protective edge. Everything okay here? Nathan asked, his eyes flicking between Emma and Derek. Yes, Emma said quickly. Nathan, this is my brother Derek. Nathan nodded, but didn't step away. Does Liam know he's here? Emma hesitated. Liam isn't here. He's out of town. Nathan's gaze hardened. Then I think it's best if your brother doesn't stay too long. Liam isn't a fan of unannounced visitors. Derek raised his hands defensively. I'm not here to cause trouble. Nathan didn't respond, his posture remaining tense. I'll handle it. Nathan? Emma said firmly, hoping to diffuse the situation. Nathan nodded reluctantly. I'll be nearby if you need anything. Once Nathan left, Emma turned back to Derek, her mind racing. Why did you really come here? I told you, Derek said. I wanted to see if you were okay, and I needed a place to stay for a while. Emma's heart sank. She had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed stung. So this isn't about me, it's about you? It's not like that, Derek argued. I just need a little time to get back on my feet. I thought maybe... You thought I'd fix everything for you, Emma interrupted, her voice sharp. Like I always did? Derek looked away, guilt written all over his face. I can't do this right now, Emma said, shaking her head. You can't just show up and expect everything to go back to the way it was. Emma, please, Derek pleaded. I'm trying to make amends. Emma hesitated, torn between her lingering anger and the small part of her that still cared for her brother. I'll think about it, she said finally. But you need to leave before Liam gets back. Derek nodded, his shoulders slumping. Thank you. That evening, Emma found herself on the balcony again, the city lights providing a sense of calm. She replayed her conversation with Derek in her mind, unsure of how to feel. Long day? Emma turned to see Nathan leaning against the balcony railing, a warm cup of coffee in his hands. You could say that, she replied, managing a faint smile. Your brother seems complicated, Nathan said carefully. That's one way to put it, Emma said with a sigh. He left years ago and now he's back asking for help. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. Family can be messy, but it's clear he cares about you, even if he has a funny way of showing it. Emma smiled faintly. Thanks for not kicking him out right away. Nathan chuckled. I figured you'd want to handle it, but just so you know, Liam won't be happy if he finds out. Emma's smile faded. I know, and that's what worries me. They stood in silence for a moment before Nathan spoke again. You're stronger than you think, Emma. Don't let anyone, not Derek, not Liam, make you doubt that. Emma's heart swelled at his words. Thank you, Nathan. Really, any time, he said with a grin before heading back inside. As Emma remained on the balcony, she felt a flicker of hope. Her life might be chaotic, but she was beginning to find her own strength. And maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to bring peace to the storms around her. The fourth day of Liam's absence brought a shift in the mansion's atmosphere. Emma awoke to the sound of doors opening and closing, footsteps echoing down the long hallways. Clara knocked on her door shortly after, delivering a simple but direct message. Mr. Harrison has returned. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure why the news unsettled her. Perhaps it was because Derek's visit still lingered in her mind, or maybe it was the uncertainty of Liam's reaction to her brother's brief and intrusion. After freshening up, Emma made her way downstairs, finding Liam in the dining room. He was seated at the head of the table, sipping coffee and scrolling through his tablet. As always, he looked composed and impeccably dressed, but there was a faint tension in his posture. You're back, Emma said, her voice betraying a hint of nervousness. Liam glanced up, his expression neutral. Obviously. Emma frowned at his curt response, but decided not to press. She took a seat at the table, waiting for him to say more. Did anything happen while I was gone? Liam asked after a moment, his eyes sharp as they studied her. Emma's stomach twisted. She considered telling him about Derek, but hesitated. Derek was gone, and she didn't want to risk unnecessary conflict. Nothing significant, she replied, keeping her tone even. Liam didn't look convinced, but he didn't push the matter. Good. We have an event tonight, another gala. Be ready by 7. Emma nodded, relieved that he didn't pursue the topic further. By the time evening arrived, Emma was dressed in a stunning black gown, her hair styled in an elegant updo. Liam appeared in the doorway of her room, dressed in a sharp tuxedo. "You look appropriate," he said, his tone clipped but not unkind. "Thanks," Emma replied, rolling her eyes slightly at his choice of words. The drive to the gala was quiet, with Liam focused on his phone and Emma lost in her thoughts. When they arrived, the opulence of the venue took her breath away. The grand ballroom was filled with New York's elite, dressed in designer gowns and suits that screamed wealth and power. As they entered, Liam placed a hand on the small of Emma's back, guiding her through the crowd. The gesture was subtle but possessive, a reminder of the role she was meant to play. "You'll be fine," Liam murmured, his voice low. Emma glanced at him, surprised by the hint of reassurance in his words. "Thanks." The evening progressed smoothly, with Emma once again navigating small talk and polite smiles. She was beginning to grow accustomed to the routine, though the facade still felt exhausting. At one point, Emma found herself alone near the refreshment table. She was about to grab a glass of champagne when a familiar voice stopped her. "Well, don't you look stunning tonight?" Emma turned to see Sophia, her sharp smile as unwelcome as ever. "Sophia?" Emma said coolly. "I didn't realize you'd be here." "Of course, these events wouldn't be the same without me," Sophia replied, her tone dripping with mock sweetness. Emma signed inwardly, bracing herself for whatever jab Sophia had planned. "You know," Sophia began, leaning in slightly, "Liam may have chosen you for now, but don't get too comfortable. Men like him don't change. They take what they need and move on." Emma met Sophia's gaze, refusing to back down. "Then it's a good thing I'm not as fragile as you think." Sophia's smirk faltered, and before she could respond, Liam appeared at Emma's side. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his voice cold and his eyes fixed on Sophia.
"Sophia? None at all," Sophia said smoothly, though her smile was strained. "I was just catching up with your lovely wife." Liam didn't respond, his gaze unwavering, until Sophia finally walked away. "Thank you," Emma said quietly. Liam glanced at her, his expression softening ever so slightly. "You don't need to thank me. Just don't let people like her get to you." Emma nodded, her chest tightening at his unexpected kindness. The ride back to the mansion was silent, but not uncomfortable. Emma found herself stealing glances at Liam, trying to decipher the man who seemed so cold, yet occasionally showed glimpses of warmth. When they arrived home, Liam walked her to the base of the staircase. "Good night, Emma," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Good night," she replied, hesitating for a moment before heading upstairs. As she closed the door to her room, Emma leaned against it, her mind racing. She couldn't deny that something was shifting between her and Liam, though she wasn't sure what it meant or where it would lead. The days following Miqua marked a subtle but noticeable change in Emma and Liam's dynamic. Their interactions, though still laced with formality, carried an undertone of something deeper. An unspoken truce, perhaps, even a fragile trust. Emma found herself spending more time in Liam's presence, whether during quiet dinners or shared moments in the library. Though their conversations rarely strayed beyond surface-level topics, the silence between them no longer felt as heavy. One evening, Emma found Liam in the study, seated at the desk with papers spread out before him. He looked up when she entered, his expression more relaxed than usual. "Busy?" she asked, hesitating in the doorway. "Always," Liam replied, though there was no edge to his tone. Emma stepped inside, her curiosity piqued by the stack of documents in front of him. "What are you working on?" Liam leaned back in his chair, studying her for a moment before answering. "A potential acquisition. It's complicated." Emma smiled faintly. "You make everything sound complicated." Liam arched an eyebrow. "That's because it is. Running a business isn't as simple as it looks." "Maybe," Emma said, moving closer, "but sometimes I think you make it harder than it needs to be." Liam smirked, a rare expression on his usually stoic face. "And what makes you think that?"
Because you never stop, Emma said, her voice soft but firm. You're always working, always pushing. Don't you ever take a moment to breathe? Liam's expression shifted, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his features. Breathing doesn't pay the bills. Emma frowned. Liam, you have more money than you could ever spend in a lifetime. What are you really working for? The question hung in the air, and for a moment, Liam seemed at a loss for words. Then he sighed, leaning forward to rest his elbows on the desk. I'm working to keep it, he admitted. Everything my father built, everything he left behind. It's my responsibility now. If I let it fall apart, what was the point? Emma's heart softened at his words. Beneath his cold exterior was a man carrying the weight of an impossible legacy. Maybe the point isn't to keep it, she said gently. Maybe it's to make it your own. Liam's gaze met hers, and for the first time Emma saw something she couldn't quite name. Hope, perhaps, or gratitude.
Liam's eyes met hers, and for a moment the walls he had built around himself seemed to crack. You don't know that. I do, Emma said firmly. You've accomplished so much, Liam, and beneath all the arrogance and walls, I think you're a good man. Liam let out a soft laugh, though there was no humor in it. You're the only one who thinks that. Maybe, Emma said, smiling, but I'm usually right. Liam shook his head, but the faint smile that tugged at his lips told her she had reached him, if only for a moment. That night, as Emma sat on the balcony reflecting on their walk, she heard a knock at her door. She opened it to find Liam standing there, his expression unreadable. Can I come in? He asked. Of course, Emma said, stepping aside. Liam entered, his gaze scanning the room before settling on her. I wanted to thank you for today. Emma tilted her head, surprised. For what? For reminding me that there's more to life than work, Liam said, his voice low. I don't think anyone's done that in a long time. Emma smiled, her heart swelling at his words. Well, someone has to keep you in check. Liam chuckled softly, the sound warm and genuine. You're not what I expected, Emma. Emma raised an eyebrow. And what did you expect? Someone compliant, Liam admitted, but you challenged me, and I think I needed that more than I realized. Emma's cheeks flushed, but she held his gaze. You're not what I expected either, Liam, but I think there's more to you than you let people see. Liam didn't respond immediately, his eyes searching hers. Good night, Emma. Good night, Liam, she said softly, watching as he left the room. As she closed the door behind him, Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she believed that their arrangement could become something more, something real. The air in the mansion felt lighter, though Emma wasn't entirely sure why. Perhaps it was the walk through Central Park or the quiet yet meaningful conversations she'd shared with Liam, but something between them had shifted. The tension that once defined their interactions was still present, but it now carried a sense of curiosity rather than hostility. Emma found herself looking forward to their small exchanges, moments that were slowly becoming more frequent. Liam, though still guarded, was beginning to let his walls down, not fully, but enough for Emma to see glimpses of the man beneath the armor. One afternoon, Liam invited Emma to his office, a place she had rarely been allowed to enter. The space was sleek and minimalist, with large windows offering a stunning view of the city. Liam sat behind a glass desk, his sleeves rolled up as he reviewed a stack of documents. I need your input on something, he said, gesturing for her to take a seat. Emma raised an eyebrow, surprised. Do you need my input? Yes, Liam replied without looking up. I'm considering investing in a community housing project. It's a risk, financially speaking, but it could benefit a lot of people. Emma leaned forward, studying the proposal he handed her. As she read through the details, her heart swelled at the idea. It was ambitious, yet deeply impactful, a rare departure from the cold, lap-profit-driven decisions she had come to associate with Liam. This is incredible, Emma said, looking up at him. Why are you even hesitating? Liam shrugged, his expression unreadable. It's not exactly in line with my usual ventures, and my board isn't enthusiastic about it. Emma frowned.
Since when do you care about what they think? If you believe in this, you should do it. Liam studied her for a moment, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. You make it sound simple sometimes. It is sometimes, Emma said, her voice firm. Not everything has to be about numbers and returns, Liam. This is about people. It's about making a difference. Liam nodded slowly, as if her words were sinking in. You're right. I'll move forward with it. Emma smiled, her chest tightening with pride. For the first time, she felt like she was truly making a difference in his life. That evening, Liam surprised Emma again by asking her to join him for dinner. Not in the formal dining room, but in the kitchen, a space that was rarely used. I thought we'd try something different, Liam said, as he set a small table near the window. Emma laughed softly. Did you actually cook? Liam smirked. No, but I ordered from your favorite restaurant. Emma's heart swelled at the idea. Gesture you remembered. Of course, Liam said, his tone softer than usual. As they ate, the conversation flowed more easily than ever before. They talked about their childhoods, their favorite books, and even a few embarrassing moments from their pasts. Liam's laugh, a sound Emma had rarely heard, filled the room, and for the first time, she saw him as more than just the cold businessman she'd married. Can I ask you something? Emma said after a while, her tone cautious. Anything, Liam replied, his gaze steady. Why did you choose me? Liam hesitated, the question clearly catching him off guard. You were different. Different how? Liam sat down, his expression thoughtful. You weren't trying to impress me. Everyone else I've met has always wanted something. Money, power, status. But you were genuine. You still are. Emma's cheeks flushed, and for a moment she didn't know what to say. I don't regret choosing you, Liam added, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma's heart raced at his words, and she met his gaze, searching for any sign of hesitation, but there was none. Thank you, she said softly, her voice laced with emotion. Liam nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. Later that night, Emma stood on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. The events of the day replayed in her mind, each moment with Liam leaving her feeling more conflicted. She was beginning to see a future with him, one that felt real, not just an arrangement. Her thoughts were interrupted when Liam joined her, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Couldn't sleep? He asked, leaning against the railing. Too much on my mind, Emma admitted. Liam nodded, his gaze distant. I know the feeling. They stood in silence for a moment, the cool night air wrapping around them. Emma, Liam said suddenly, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. I know this marriage started as a business deal, but it's become more than that for me. Emma's breath caught, her heart pounding in her chest. I don't know how to do this, Liam continued, his words hesitant. I don't know how to be what you deserve, but I want to try. Tears pricked Emma's eyes, and she turned to face him. You already are, Liam. You just don't see it yet. Liam's eyes searched hers, and for the first time she saw the walls around his heart begin to crumble. As the city lights shimmered in the distance, Emma and Liam stood together, the barriers between them slowly but surely breaking down. The shift in Emma and Liam's relationship was undeniable. Their interactions carried a warmth that had been absent before, and Emma found herself looking forward to their time together. She had started to believe that their marriage could transform into something real, something worth fighting for. But life rarely unfolded without complications. One crisp morning, as Emma sat in the library enjoying a rare moment of peace, Nathan appeared at the door, his expression unusually tense. Emma, there's something you need to see, he said, holding out his phone. Emma frowned, taking the device from him. Her stomach dropped as she saw the headline splashed across the screen. Liam Harrison's mystery wife, the truth behind their marriage. Beneath the headline was a photo of her and Liam at the most recent gala, followed by a speculative article questioning the authenticity of their relationship. The writer accused Emma of being a gold digger and hinted that their marriage was a calculated move by Liam to satisfy the terms of his late father's will. Emma's hands shook as she read the article. How did they find out? Nathan sighed. It's impossible to keep something like this a secret forever. Someone must have leaked it. Does Liam know? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He does, Nathan replied. He's furious. Emma's heart sank. She knew how much Liam valued his privacy, and this kind of exposure would only reinforce his belief that trusting others was a mistake. I should talk to him, she said, standing abruptly. Nathan hesitated before nodding. In Liam's office, Emma knocked on Liam's office door, her pulse quickening when she heard his sharp, "Come in." When she entered, Liam was standing by the window, his jaw clenched and his hands balled into fists. His tablet sat on the desk, the offending article still open on the screen. "Liam," Emma began, her voice gentle.
"Did you know about this?" he demanded, turning to face her. Emma flinched at the anger in his tone. "Of course not. I would never." "How did this happen?" Liam interrupted, his voice rising. "Who would have had access to this information?" "I don't know," Emma said, trying to stay calm. "But we'll figure it out." Liam shook his head, his eyes filled with frustration. "This is exactly why I don't let people in. Every time I do, it backfires." Emma stepped closer, her gaze steady. "Liam, I had nothing to do with this. You have to believe me." For a moment, Liam's expression softened, but the tension in his body remained. "I don't know who to trust anymore." The words stung, but Emma refused to back down. "Then trust me. I'm on your side, Liam. I always have been." Liam studied her for a long moment before letting out a heavy sigh. "I don't want to talk about this anymore." Emma nodded, understanding that pushing him further would only make things worse. "I'm here if you need me," she said softly before leaving the room. The article's fallout was immediate. By the following day, tabloids and gossip sites were filled with rumors about Emma and Liam's relationship. Paparazzi began staking out the mansion, and phone calls from curious journalists flooded Liam's office. Emma tried to keep a low profile, but the scrutiny was overwhelming. Everywhere she turned, she felt the weight of strangers' judgment. One evening, as she sat on the balcony trying to gather her thoughts, Liam joined her, his expression tired but less guarded. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice surprising her. Emma looked at him, startled. "For what?" "For how I handled things earlier," Liam admitted. "The situation is frustrating, but I know this isn't your fault." Emma's chest tightened at his words. "Thank you. I've been worried about you." Liam chuckled softly, though there was little humor in it. "You don't need to worry about me, Emma. I can handle this." "I know you can," Emma said, her voice firm, "but you don't have to do it alone." Liam's gaze softened, and for the first time in days, he looked at her without the weight of suspicion. "You're too good for this, you know, for me." Emma shook her head. "Don't say that. We're in this together, Liam." His lips quirked into a faint smile, and he reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You amaze me, Emma." Emma's heart raced at his touch, and for a moment, the chaos of the outside world faded away. In that quiet moment, it was just the two of them. No tabloids, no rumors, no walls. The following day, Liam held a press conference to address the rumors. Standing tall in front of a sea of reporters, he spoke with the confidence and authority that had made him one of the most respected businessmen in the country. "My marriage to Emma is real," Liam stated firmly. "It's not a business arrangement or a ploy to satisfy legal obligations. It's a partnership built on mutual respect and trust." Emma watched from the sidelines, her chest swelling with pride and relief. Liam's words were clear and unwavering, silencing even the harshest critics. When the conference ended, Liam approached Emma, his expression unreadable. "How did I do?" he asked. Emma smiled, her eyes shining. "You were perfect." Liam's lips curved into a faint smile. "That's because I had something worth fighting for." Emma's heart raced at his touch, and she realized that despite everything, they were building something real, something unbreakable. The following days, Liam's press conference brought a much-needed calm. The media frenzy had begun to subside, and for the first time in weeks,
The mansion felt like a sanctuary rather than a fortress. Emma and Liam's relationship continued to evolve, their connection deepening with each shared moment. But peace, as Emma had come to learn, was often fleeting. It was late afternoon when Emma received an unexpected phone call. She was sitting in the library, a novel in her lap, when Clara entered with a cordless phone. "Mrs. Harrison, it's for you," Clara said, her tone hesitant. Emma frowned, taking the phone. "Hello?" "Emma," came the voice on the other end. Her breath caught. "Derek," she said softly, her heart sinking. "Look, I didn't want to call, but I need your help," Derek said, his tone rushed and desperate. Emma's grip tightened on the phone. "What is it this time?" "There's no easy way to say this," Derek began, his voice breaking. "I'm in trouble, Em. I owe some people, money, dangerous people, and I don't have anywhere else to turn." Emma closed her eyes, a wave of frustration and sadness washing over her. "Derek, I can't keep fixing your mistakes." "I know," Derek said quickly. I know I've let you down, but this is different. These guys, they're serious. If I don't pay them back, I don't know what they'll do." Emma's mind raced. She didn't want to believe him, but the fear in his voice was undeniable. "Where are you?" she asked after a long pause. "Nearby," Derek said, relief evident in his tone. "Can we meet, please?" Emma hesitated, debating whether to tell him the truth. She knew Liam valued honesty, but she also knew how he felt about Derek. "Just a long day," she said finally, offering a weak smile. Liam studied her for a moment before nodding. "If you need anything, you know where to find me." Emma nodded, guilt twisting in her chest. That night, Emma lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her mind raced with thoughts of Derek and the predicament he had dragged her into. She knew she couldn't hide this from Liam forever, but she wasn't ready to face his disappointment or his anger. As the hours ticked by, Emma made a decision. She would handle this herself, without involving Liam. For once, she wanted to protect him, the way he had begun to protect her. The next day, Emma withdrew the money from her personal account, a small inheritance from her grandmother that she'd been saving for years. It wasn't enough to cover Derek's debt entirely, but it was a start. She met Derek again, handing him the cash with a firm warning. "This is it, Derek. Don't ask me for anything else." Derek nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude and shame. "I won't, Em, I promise." As Emma watched him leave, a sense of unease settled over her. She wanted to believe that this would be the end of Derek's troubles, but a part of her knew better. The days after Emma's meeting with Derek passed in a haze of tension. She tried to return to her routine at the mansion, but the weight of her secret was an ever-present burden. Liam, perceptive as always, noticed her distraction, but chose not to press the issue yet. Emma's hope that Derek would handle the situation quietly was shattered late one evening. She was in the library, flipping through a book, but barely absorbing the words, when Nathan appeared at the door, his expression grim. "Emma, we have a problem," Nathan said, his tone sharp. "What's wrong?" Emma asked, setting the book aside and standing quickly. "Your brother is here, and—" "He's not alone," Nathan explained. "They're outside, demanding to see Liam." Emma's heart raced. "What do you mean? He brought company? 2 men who look like they mean trouble?" Nathan explained. "They're outside, demanding to see Liam."
Followed Nathan to the front entrance. When she arrived, she saw Derek standing on the steps, flanked by 2 burly men who looked every bit as dangerous as she had feared. "Emma," Derek said, relief flooding his voice when he saw her, "what are you doing here?" Emma demanded, her tone sharp. "I didn't have a choice," Derek said, his voice desperate. "These guys, they didn't think the money you gave me was enough. They're threatening me." Emma turned to the 2 men, her pulse pounding. "I don't know who you are, but you can't just show up here." One of the men, a tall figure with a scar running down his cheek, stepped forward. "Your brother-in-law owes us, lady. If you can't pay, we'll take what we're owed." "Some other way." Emma's breath caught, and she instinctively glanced over her shoulder. To her dismay, Liam appeared in the doorway, his expression a mix of anger and confusion. "What's going on here?" Liam asked, his voice calm but laced with steel. Emma stepped forward, trying to shield Derek from Liam's wrath. "Liam, I can handle this."
"No," Liam said firmly, his gaze fixed on the two men. "This is my house, and I want answers." The man with the scar smirked. "Your brother-in-law owes us a lot of money. If he can't pay, someone else will have to." Liam's eyes narrowed and his jaw tightened. "Leave now." "And if we don't?" the man challenged. Liam took a step forward, his presence commanding. "Then you'll regret it." There was a tense moment of silence before the man muttered something under his breath and motioned for his companion to follow him. "This isn't over," he warned, before disappearing into the night. Inside the mansion, Liam turned to Derek, his expression cold. "You have 5 seconds to explain why you thought bringing criminals to my house was a good idea." Derek stammered, his usual bravado gone. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't know what else to do." "You didn't know what else to do," Liam repeated, his voice rising. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" Emma stepped between them, her voice pleading. "Liam, please, he didn't have a choice." Liam turned to Emma, his eyes filled with betrayal. "You knew about this?" Emma froze, her guilt written all over her face. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" Liam said, his voice cold. "By keeping secrets from me? By letting this spiral out of control?" Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want to burden you with my problems." Liam shook his head, his expression hardening. "This isn't just your problem anymore, Emma. It's ours. Or at least it should have been if you had trusted me." The words cut deeper than Emma expected, and she realized just how much she had hurt him. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. Liam let out a heavy sigh, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Derek stays here tonight. Tomorrow he's gone, and we're going to figure out how to deal with this mess together." Emma nodded, her heart aching at the strain in Liam's voice. That night, Emma sat alone on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. The weight of the evening pressed down on her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she had let everyone down. "You shouldn't be out here alone," Liam's voice said from behind her. Emma turned to see him standing in the doorway, his expression softer than before. "I needed some air," she said quietly. Liam stepped onto the balcony, leaning against the railing beside her. "I wasn't fair to you earlier." "You were right," Emma said with regret. "I should have told you about Derek." Liam shook his head. "You were trying to protect your brother. I get that. But you don't have to carry this alone, Emma. Not anymore." Emma looked at him, her eyes brimming with tears. "I'm so sorry, Liam. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Liam reached out, taking her hand in his. "We'll get through it together." Emma's heart swelled at his words, and for the first time that night, she allowed herself to believe that they could overcome anything as long as they had each other. The morning after Derek's disastrous visit dawned with a tense stillness in the mansion. Emma awoke early, her thoughts swirling with the events of the previous night. She knew Liam was furious, and though he had softened toward her before bed, the weight of his disappointment lingered in her chest. After dressing quickly, Emma went downstairs only to find Liam already in the dining room, sipping
his coffee. He looked up as she entered, his expression unreadable. "Good morning," Emma said cautiously. Liam nodded. "Morning." Emma hesitated before sitting across from him. "Is Derek still here?" "In the guest room," Liam replied, his tone clipped. "But not for long. I made a few calls this morning. The men he owes money to aren't the kind you can reason with." Emma's stomach tightened. "What are we going to do?" Liam sat down his coffee cup, his gaze steady. "I'm going to meet with him." "What?" Emma exclaimed, her voice rising. "Liam, no, it's too dangerous." "I don't have a choice, Emma," Liam said firmly. "They showed up at my house. This isn't just about Derek anymore. It's about protecting you and everything I've worked for." Emma reached across the table, grabbing his hand. "You don't have to do this alone. Let me come with you." Liam shook his head. "Absolutely not. It's too risky." "But no," Liam interrupted, his tone final. "I'll handle this. Trust me." Emma's heart sank, but she nodded, knowing she wouldn't be able to change his mind. That afternoon, Liam left the mansion with Nathan at his side.
Emma watched from the window as they drove away, her anxiety growing with each passing second. She had never felt so powerless. Hours later, Liam returned. When Emma saw him step through the front door, relief flooded her. But her relief quickly turned to concern when she noticed the tension in his posture and the dark look in his eyes. "What happened?" Emma asked, rushing to meet him. "It's done," Liam said curtly. Emma frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means I paid them off," Liam replied, his tone sharp. $50,000, and they agreed to leave Derek alone. Emma's heart twisted. She knew how much Liam hated being forced into situations like this, and the strain in his voice was evident. "Thank you," she said softly, placing a hand on his arm. Liam sighed, his shoulders relaxing slightly. "Don't thank me, Emma. This shouldn't have happened in the first place." Emma nodded, guilt washing over her. "I'll talk to Derek. He needs to leave." Emma found Derek in the guest room, packing his things. He looked up when she entered, his expression a mix of shame and gratitude. "I heard what Liam did," Derek said quietly. "I don't deserve it." "No, you don't," Emma replied, her voice firm. "But he did it for me, Derek, not for you. You need to leave and get your life together. I can't keep saving you." Derek nodded, his gaze dropping to the floor. "I know, and I'm sorry, Em, for everything." Emma's heart softened slightly, but she remained resolute. "I hope you mean that, Derek, because this was the last time." Later that evening, Emma found Liam in the library, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He stared out the window, lost in thought. "Can I join you?" Emma asked softly. Liam turned, his expression softening when he saw her. "Of course." Emma sat beside him, the silence between them heavy but not uncomfortable. After a moment, she reached for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. "I'm sorry for everything, Emma," said her voice trembling. "You didn't deserve to be dragged into this." Liam shook his head. "You don't need to apologize, Emma. I made a choice, and I'd do it again if it meant keeping you safe." Emma's heart tightened at his words. "You're an incredible man, Liam, even if you don't see it." Liam let out a soft laugh, his gaze meeting hers. "I'm not so sure about that." "I am," Emma said firmly. For a moment they simply looked at each other, the weight of their emotions unspoken but deeply felt. Then, to Emma's surprise, Liam leaned closer, his hand gently cupping her cheek. "Emma," he murmured, his voice low. Her breath hitched as his lips brushed hers. The kiss tender and filled with a longing that had been building between them for weeks. When they pulled apart, Emma's heart raced, and Liam rested his forehead against hers. "No more secrets," he said softly. Emma nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "No more secrets." The kiss between Emma and Liam had shifted the foundation of their relationship. For the first time, Emma felt that their bond wasn't just built on convenience or necessity, but on something genuine, something real. Liam, building though still guarded in many ways, seemed lighter in the days that followed. His sharp edges softened when he was with Emma, and she found herself drawn to the man beneath the carefully constructed walls he had built.
Evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and violet, Liam suggested they take dinner on the balcony. The cool breeze carried the scent of the garden below, and the sound of the city provided a quiet hum in the background. "This is nice," Emma said, her voice soft as she sipped her wine. Liam nodded, his gaze fixed on the skyline. "It is. I should have done this sooner." Emma smiled. "You've been busy running an empire. I suppose I can forgive you." Liam chuckled, a sound that warmed Emma's heart. "You make it sound so glamorous, isn't it?" Emma teased. Liam shook his head. "It's exhausting. Every decision feels like a gamble. One wrong move and everything my father built could fall apart." Emma reached across the table, placing her hand over his. "You're not your father, Liam. You don't have to carry his legacy alone. You can make it your own."
Liam's gaze softened as he looked at her. "You always seem to know exactly what to say." Emma shrugged, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "Maybe you just need to hear it." As the weeks passed, Liam began involving Emma in more aspects of his life. He sought her opinion on business matters, valued her perspective on social events, and even confided in her about the pressures he faced. One afternoon, as they worked side by side in Liam's office, Emma couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. "You know," Emma said, breaking the comfortable silence, "when this all started, I never imagined we'd end up here." Liam glanced at her, his lips curving into a small smile. "Neither did I." Emma sat down the document she had been reading. "Do you regret it?" Liam leaned back in his chair, his gaze thoughtful. "At first, maybe, but not anymore." Emma's heart swelled at his words. "Neither do I." One evening, Liam surprised Emma with tickets to a charity event he was hosting. Unlike the formal galas they had attended before, this event was more relaxed, with a focus on supporting local communities. Emma couldn't help but feel proud as she watched Liam interact with the guests, his usual aloof demeanor replaced with genuine warmth. "You're good at this," Emma said, as they stood together during a quiet moment. Liam raised an eyebrow. "At what?" "Making people feel seen," Emma replied. "You have a way of connecting with them, even if you don't realize it." Liam shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "That's you, Emma. You make me want to be better." Emma's cheeks flushed, but she didn't look away. "You already are, Liam. You just don't give yourself enough credit." Before Liam could respond, a familiar voice interrupted them. "Well, isn't this a sight to see?" Emma turned to find Sophia standing a few feet away, her expression smug. "Sophia," Liam said, his tone cool, "what are you doing here?" "I was invited," Sophia replied, her gaze flicking to Emma. "But I have to admit I'm surprised to see how cozy you two have become." Emma stiffened, but Liam's hand on her lower back steadied her. "Sophia, if you're here to cause trouble, don't waste your time," Liam said sharply. "Emma and I are fine." Sophia's eyes narrowed, but she didn't press further. "Enjoy the evening," she said, before walking away. Emma let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "She doesn't give up, does she?" "No," Liam said, his voice low, "but it doesn't matter. You're the one I care about, Emma, not her." Emma's heart fluttered at his words, and she smiled. "Good." That night, as they returned home, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment she hadn't known in years. Liam had become more than just her husband in name. He had become her partner, her confidant, and the man she was falling in love with. When they reached the balcony, Liam pulled Emma into his arms, holding her close as they gazed out at the city lights. "Emma," Liam said softly, his voice filled with emotion. She looked up at him, her heart racing. "Yes. I know this marriage started for all the wrong reasons," Liam began, his gaze steady, "but I want it to be real. I want us to be real." Tears welled in Emma's eyes as she reached up to cup his face. "Liam, we already are." Liam leaned down, capturing her lips in a kiss that was filled with promise, a promise of a future built on trust, respect, and love. Months had passed since Liam and Emma's tentative steps toward building something real. The mansion, once cold and uninviting, now echoed with laughter and gentle moments.
Felt like a home. Laughter echoed through its halls, and every shared glance between them carried the warmth of a love that had grown stronger with time. Emma had found her place, not just as Liam's wife, but as his equal. She had become involved in his philanthropic ventures, using her empathy and insight to guide his efforts toward meaningful change. Liam, in turn, had embraced the parts of himself he had once kept hidden, allowing Emma to see the man behind the empire. The day of their anniversary arrived, and Liam had planned something special. Emma awoke to find a note on her bedside table, written in his bold, elegant handwriting. "Meet me in the garden.
Curious, Emma dressed quickly and made her way outside. The sight that greeted her took her breath away. The garden had been transformed into a romantic paradise, with strings of fairy lights casting a soft glow over the trees and a table set for two in the center of the lawn. Liam stood nearby, waiting for her, his usual composure softened by a nervous smile. "What's all this?" Emma asked, her voice tinged with awe. "Our anniversary," Liam said, stepping closer. "I wanted to do something special." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with love. "You've outdone yourself." Liam pulled out her chair, and they sat together, enjoying a dinner filled with laughter and stolen glances. As the evening wore on, Liam reached for her hand, his expression turning serious. "Emma," he began, his voice low, "when we first started this, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be simple, a business arrangement, nothing more." Emma nodded, her chest tightening at the vulnerability in his tone. "But then you came into my life, and everything changed," Liam continued. "You made me see the world differently. You made me want to be better." Tears welled in Emma's eyes as Liam pulled a small box from his pocket. "I know this is a little unconventional," Liam said with a soft laugh, "but I wanted to give you this." He opened the box to reveal a ring, not the one from their wedding day, but a new one, elegant and timeless. "This is for us," Liam said, his voice filled with emotion, "for the life we've built together and the one I want to keep building with you." Emma's tears spilled over as she nodded, her voice trembling. "Liam." Before she could finish, Liam leaned forward, capturing her lips in a kiss that said everything words couldn't. The next morning, as they sat together on the balcony, Emma couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. "Do you ever think about the beginning?" Emma asked, her head resting on Liam's shoulder. Liam smiled, his hand brushing her hair. "Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago." Emma laughed softly. "I was so angry with you back then." "And I was a complete ass," Liam admitted with a chuckle. "But you still managed to see something in me. I don't know how." Emma looked up at him, her gaze filled with love. "Because I knew there was more to you than what you let the world see. And I was right." Liam leaned down, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I don't know what I did to deserve you, Emma, but I'm never letting you go." Emma smiled, her heart full. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." As the sun rose over the city, casting a warm glow over the mansion, Liam and Emma sat together, their hands entwined. Their journey had been far from easy, but it had brought them to this moment, a love that was strong, real, and theirs. We loved having you here. Share in the comments what you thought of the story and how we can make it even better next time.